Change in the table is 1. And then we're going to look at the graph, second graph, to look at the factors, although I got to put 72 in here, just to show you this last one we were working on. So 72 divided by x, and then I can see the factors. 4 times 18 is 72, right? So this one, and 18 is positive, and 4 is negative. So here I would get x plus 18 and x minus 4. Okay? Moving on. Write this one down, please. And in the graphing calculator, you can put 40 divided by x. I'll be your human calculator and generate the list for you. 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, 5 and 8. So if we make our cross here, A times C up top, B on the bottom. So C is positive. We're going to add the factors. So which factors add to 14? 4 and 10. That should be an easy one. And then we get x. I forgot to write the 40 and the 14 now. So what multiplies to 40 and adds to 14? 4 times 10 multiplies to 40 and adds to 14. So it's x plus 14 and x plus 4. Okay. Yep, question. How do we know which factors to pick? So it's what multiplies to the top. It's always got to multiply to the top and add to the bottom. So if I'm making factors of 40 like I did here, I know they're going to all multiply to 40. So all I have to do is look and see which one adds to 14. And I just look right over here. 4 plus 10 is 14. So that's how I know to choose 4 and 10. Any other questions? It's a good question. Those explanations help. Phil? No, this 14 comes from the B term. So 4 times 10 is 40, and 4 plus 10 is 14. Oh, this one. Yeah, that should be a 10. Thank you. I was like, no, not looking in the right spot. Okay, good. Thank you. Peter? The faster way, like x minus 5, x minus 6. That's faster. But I've done 8 million of these, so I can do it super fast in my head and figure it out. So yeah, I just think in my head, what multiplies to 30 adds to negative 11, and I can do negative 5, negative 6. Boom, done. But not everybody can do that. Yeah? Can you go back to the last question? Absolutely. And in the answer, does it matter? Good question. Yeah, order, right? Anyone remember what that, when you can switch the order in multiplication and it does not matter? Anyone remember what property that is? Crickets chirping. Commutative property, right? You go from work, or you go from home to school, school to work, right? It's the same distance either way you go. It's the same concept, switching the order. It doesn't matter which order, right? I can put 4 and 10 up here, or 10 and 4, totally doesn't matter. Okay, factors of 30, C is positive, so I know my signs are the same. This is what I wrote. C is positive, we're going to add the factors. Signs are the same. I'm going to make my cross first. A times C up top, B on the bottom, 30 on top, negative 11 on the bottom. And then I'm just going to show on the calculator 30 divided by x, looking at the table, which one adds to 11? 5 and 6, 6 and 5, same difference. And then the signs, they have to both be negative. So it's just x minus 6 and x minus 5. So when C is positive, the signs are the same. When B is negative, both of the signs in the parentheses are also negative. Tell me when you're good. You good? Okay. These ones are easier. Don't make them, you guys always make the easy ones more difficult. All we're doing is factoring out a greatest common factor between 6n squared and 9n. So what number can I divide out of 6 and 9? 3. What letter can I divide out of 6 and 9? N. Right? And I can't do n squared because the 9 doesn't have an n squared up there. Okay, so it's just n. I like showing it like this, dividing both terms by 3n, because you guys make less mistakes. That's why. Whatever I divide out, I write in front of the parenthesis. What's left goes inside the parenthesis. So it's 6n squared divided by 3n. What's left? 2n plus 3. And you're done. You don't have to make two parentheses. There's only one parenthesis. You can always double check your work by distributing back into the parenthesis and make sure you end up where you started, which we would here. 3n times 2n, 6n squared. 3n times 3 is 9n. Thank you. They really want you to leave, man. You get two of them. Okay, so what can I divide out of this bottom one? 4. Good. So I can divide a 4 out of each of the three terms. So 4 comes in front, then I have x squared plus 5x minus 14. So we want factors of 14 that add to 5. The C term, negative 14, is negative. So that means my signs are opposite and I'm subtracting factors. So 14 divided by x in your calculator, you get 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. Which one is it? 2 and 7. So again, if we're making our cross with this, you don't include what you factored out. You do it after you factored. So negative 14, positive 5, 7 and 2. Which one's negative? 2 is negative. 7 minus 2 is positive 5. So let's say you get confused what to do here. Like, how do I know which one's negative, which one's positive? Simply in your calculator, you can do this. 7 minus 2, enter. 2 minus 7, enter. And then you know which one gives you positive 5. When you do 7 minus 2, that gives you positive 5. Okay, so you can always switch the order there and know for sure what's negative or positive. So then this final answer is 4x plus 7 and x minus 2. You're lucky enough to have 6 slides left. Isn't that cool? And I'm going to add one because I missed one on the first page. So we're going to add this one. This would be like example whatever number we're on, C. So if I have negative x squared now I want to make that minus 12. Actually, we'll go minus 13 plus 12. You'll be okay. Don't worry. Shayna's going to have a meltdown there. Okay, you can't factor with a negative x squared. You can, but it's a total pain in the neck. I don't recommend it. So what we're going to do is divide out a negative 1. When we divide out a negative 1, you end up with x squared plus 13x minus 12. Like so. Then if we do the cross, again, you don't deal with the negative 1 in front. It's just negative 12 and 13. What factors of 12 add to 13? 12 and 1. Right? So factors of 12, I'll just generate the list. 2 and 6, 3 and 4. So 1 and 12 get me to 13. Which one's negative? Oh, we get Houston, we got a problem. I switch the signs too many times and I confuse myself. Will this factor? This will not factor, right? Because I have to get negative 12 up here. If I make this negative 12, I can't get 13, right? So if I make that negative, I get 11, not 13. That's fine. Sometimes they won't factor. So this is your answer. It's not no solution. The only thing you could do is factor out negative 1. I outthought myself. If you look at the one on the sideboard over there, that's what I meant to do. I just screwed it up is all. But good to know, right? 1 and 12 will get you to 13. So when the B term is bigger than the C term, it's always going to be 1 in whatever the number for the C term is. Okay. What can I factor out of both? 7. So then I have 7 n squared minus 3. Does n squared minus 3 factor? Because the only factors of 3. So let's just set up the cross here so you can actually think about this. Negative 3 on top. What goes in the bottom? There's no B term, right? So when there's no B term, what is the B term? 0. So there's no factors of negative 3. You can only have 1 and 3 that get you to 0. So this whole thing does not work. Okay? And then that means this is your final answer. Good. Only have 5 more to go. What can I factor out? 9 out of all 3 parts. Divide by 9, divide by 9, divide by 9. So you get x squared plus 1x minus 2. We do the cross. You have negative 2 on top, 1 on the bottom. What are the only factors of 2? 2 and 1. Which one has to be negative? The 1. Right? 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So my parentheses then are 9. Let's say I have x minus 1, x plus 2. Careful. So what I forget? If you forget the 9, that's minus 1. I'm taking 25% off on that problem. So don't forget to include that 9 in your final answer, okay? I will punish you excessively for forgetting that. Yeah? Because you always have to be able to multiply it together and end up where we started, basically. Right? Because if I didn't have that 9, I'd end up with x squared plus x minus 2, not 9x squared plus 9x minus 18. Okay. Now we go to a whole new deal. We have a number in front of the x squared. So it adds a whole nother layer to this process. So you know, if you need motivation to learn this process, I put this question on a test for students that don't pay attention to this process to intentionally make their life difficult. So I put this problem that was so difficult to factor. I had one student try, I think it was 36 different combinations of parentheses, and they didn't get it right. And I wrote -4, haha, next to their test. Okay? No, like cold-blooded, straight up, like -4, nice try. Did not work for you. Okay? So pay attention to this process. We've been doing the cross all along. So the cross is A times C up top, B on the bottom. And we'll do like 3 or 4 of these. Okay, so you'll get that process down. So A times C, in this case, we're multiplying 2 times 12, which is 24. We have 11 on the bottom. What factors of 24 add to 11? So again, if you're not good at that, you just go into your calculator and go 24 divided by x. And then you can look at the factors and say which factors of 24 add to 11? 8 and 3, right? 3 and 8, 8 and 3. Once you start going the other way on the numbers, you're done. Like the factors end right here. But 8 and 3, yeah, those work. So we're going to go 3 here and 8 here. You could put 8 first and then 3, totally doesn't matter. Here's the change. We take the a term, which in this case is 2x squared. That becomes the numerator of two fractions. The denominator of the fractions come from the sides of the cross. So we're going to write 3x below, and then we're going to look at the 8 over here and write 8x below the other 2x squared. Now all you have to do is reduce the fractions, and we have our parentheses. The numerator of the fraction is the beginning of the parenthesis. The denominator of the fraction is the end of the parenthesis. So the squared and the x always cancel. Can we reduce 2 and 3 here? Nope. How about 2 and 8? Yes. What divides into 2 and 8? 2. So you end up with 1 and 4. How do you reduce fractions on your calculator? If you forgot, we'll go back to the home screen, clear this. We'll do 2 divided by 8, math, enter, enter. Reduces fractions. Okay? 2 divided by 8, math, enter, enter. That's helpful. So my parenthesis looks like this. I use the numerator as the beginning of the parenthesis, 2x. The denominator here is the end, plus 3. The numerator, 1x. Denominator, plus 4. That is your parenthesis. Okay? So I'm going to do another one, full Indian method. Mia, can you grab folders and grade those, please, before class is over? So homework in the folders, pass them to the aisle people to the front so Mia can grade those. Here's another one, 4x squared minus 4x minus 3. So we're going to do the cross here, a times c up top, b on the bottom. We have negative 12, negative 4. Factors of 12 that add to 4? Yeah. Negative 6, positive 2. Excellent. So we have 4x squared as the numerator of two fractions. And then negative 6x below. And 2x below. And you just have to remember the x's. There's no magic to it, just got to remember them. So 4 divided by 6 reduces to 2 over negative 3, right? And then the squared and the x, like we said before, always cancel. And then the 4 and the 2 cancel to 2 and 1. So who knows my parentheses now? Raise your hand if you know. Go for it, Julia. Two x minus 3, excellent, and 2x plus 1. Yeah. Nope. You only need something in front of the parentheses if you look at all three terms here and determine something can be divided out. In this case, because the 3 is odd and prime, you can't divide anything out. Shayna. So how do you know when to do the... Yeah. So after you do the cross here, and you come up with the top and the bottom, and you get the sides, that's when you take the a term. Because the other ones, okay, so that's a good question. We don't have, let's get to one that makes more sense. This one. We don't have a number in front, so that's a difference, no number right there. Okay, so when there's no number, you just take the sides of the cross, and those become your two solutions. But when you have a number in front of the x squared or b squared or whatever the heck it is, that's when you have to do this full Indian method. It's a good question. Okay, one more Indian method. Do you want me to show you how to do it by hand? Nobody, huh? Not a single one of you? All right. I like figuring out in my head. I'll never do this. So if you don't want to hear this, just don't listen. Rare teacher says that, right? But don't listen. So I'm just going to make my two parentheses here. The only options are 3 and 1 or 1 and 3 for the end. Yeah?
Are we ever going to have to do it by hand on a calculator?
No. I just like the challenge of doing it by hand. My other options are 2x and 2x, or I could have 4x and 1x, or I could have 1x and 4x. So we have to figure out which of those combinations gets us 7x in the middle. So what I did this one last period, it's almost always the two factors that are closer together. But of course in this one it's not the two factors that are closer together. So if I have 4x at the beginning and x, if I put 3 here and 1 here, what do I get on the outside? 4x times 3. 4x times 3 is 12x, plus 1x in the middle is not 7x. So if I just switch the 1 and the 3, that makes it work. So I have 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 1 is 3, 4 plus 3 is 7. So that's doing this one by hand, right? You can do it like that if you like. If you want to do Indian method, it works every time. You'll be good. Last slide coming up. Yeah, question? Like on this back one here? This one? So like this one does have a number in front, but I'm factoring out a 9, right? So then I don't have a number in front of the x squared. Then you have to do the full Indian method, yeah. Do you have a question, Mr. Lowe? All right. Last one. He was wearing his hat.
I made that.
Oh, you did? Nice. Well done. So up top, 12. Down low, -7. Again, C is positive, so I know the signs are the same. B is negative, so I know both signs are negative. Like, I'll say that kind of stuff time and time again. Eventually it'll sink in or not. You can still figure it out in your calculator. So factors of 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, -3 minus 4 is -7, -3 times -4 is +12. Okay, so we have the A term we're going to write as a numerator of two fractions, 2x squared, 2x squared. The side of the fractions, -3, goes below here with an x. -4 goes below here with an x. I'll let you get caught up. So the squared and the x always cancel. 2 and -3 do not reduce. 2 and -4 reduce to 1 and -2. So what are my parentheses? Go for it. 2x minus 3 and x minus 2. And again, you can always box it to double check your answer, but you have solutions as well. But on a test, box it to check your answer. Any questions? So we're factoring. We factored with just x squared. What multiplies to c adds to b. Then we factored a binomial where we're just pulling out the greatest common factor. Like this problem we did right here. There, it went too fast. Like this one right here, where we factored out just the 3n. And then we did ones where we had to, right, you've got a number in front of the x squared. That's when you have to do the full Indian method. Okay? That is it. Your homework is on the board.